Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. How are you all today? I hope that everybody is well, and wherever you are feeling a little bit of peace, a little bit of happiness, and that you have some strength inside of you that is never ending, because that's one of the most important things in this world, I think, is that eternal strength and the internal strength. And sometimes we forget that we have this huge power within us that is our guide in life. And it's sad, really, because we look so much to the outside for the answers, and yet all the answers that we need are literally waiting inside of us. But that also comes from the strength and the courage to follow one's own heart, as opposed to what is going on outside in the world, which can be daunting at the best of times, but especially now. And we can't lose our way. We simply can't. If we follow that inner voice, that inner guidance, the voice that keeps coming to us, that is going to give us peace, we can't go wrong. Now, today's guest has been a real favourite, I have to say, with all of you out there. I've had so many messages and so many of the listeners who have asked to have him back again. And I'm really delighted to welcome back Mir Abbas Ali. Now, Mir, if you remember, is an acupuncturist, a martial arts master, and a Chinese medical expert. After he graduated as an acupuncturist and in the Shaolin Arts, he started to train in the Taoist arts, Qigong, Neigong, Bagua, Tui Na, amongst other arts. This morning is one of those rough mornings, I have to say, where it's very damp in the UK. And we're all feeling a little bit roosterish, I have to say. Now, Mir's quest, this is the whole point. This is where Mir comes in. Because at these times in life, we need somebody to pull us out of ourselves and literally to guide us onto the right path. And because he has specialized in the internal arts, he has been on the side of serious meditation and spiritual inquiry. And it's this type of training for any of us, but especially for himself, that keeps one seeking and developing for the rest of one's life. In a way, it's a way of life. He is experienced in the martial arts such as Escrima, Pencak Silat, and Systema, as well as modern self-defense systems. He has had really a great privilege to represent Great Britain in the Chee Kim Thong lineage of Nan Shaolin Wuzuquan in China, and to be filmed for Chinese documentaries, as well as being interviewed for many Chinese news programs. Mir has been lucky enough to travel across the world, to train with masters in China, America, Malaysia, Europe, and New Zealand. And he has been awarded a 7th Dan grade by the International Southern Shaolin Five Ancestors Association in China. Mir has been, I suppose, one word for it is blessed to have received years of transmissions and training in the Taoist lineage energy arts, as well as training regularly with legendary Russian masters. He has travelled to New Zealand to learn from the true Maori warriors and healers who were extremely generous to pass on their teachings to him from their family and lineages to help benefit people worldwide, which he's actually doing right now. Today, he shares more of his journey and his pearls of wisdom. Welcome back, Mir.
Hello, Mimi.
But how have you been? I have to say, people have been absolutely, amazed with the last episode where you were on, and they really wanted you to come back on again. And they were especially interested in the healing, in the guidance of the traditional sort of Chinese and the Eastern arts, because I think,
Yes.
as you know already, people are really being pulled to that ancient and traditional wisdom.
Yes.
Now, tell us a little bit more. Let's recap a little bit for some people that haven't listened to the previous episode. In a sort of a paragraph, tell us a little bit about what you do and what your work is all about.
Okay, so essentially, I guess my shop front is that I'm an acupuncturist or practitioner of Chinese medicine. So that could be bodywork, herbs, mostly acupuncture and bodywork is what I tend to spend most of my time with. But being, I guess, a martial artist and some of that kind of practices an awful lot of Qigong and meditation, etc. There's a different dynamic and aspect and different dimension to what I'm able to offer and the perspective I offer it from. So my personal way is to basically offer treatments, etc., from the perspective of trying to free people, of trying to kind of open them up to whatever their possibilities are, not just make sure that the elbow pain disappears or the back pain disappears. You don't always have to be explicit about it and say that's what you're doing, because if someone's just coming in for an elbow pain, you don't start talking to them about other things. But my objective is always to open people up so that they're free to move on their own journeys.
Now, this is an interesting point because you treat people holistically. And it's not about, well, as you said, my elbow hurts, my arm hurts, my foot hurts. And you're not that type of expert, are you? You are the type that looks at everything, I suppose, spiritually, emotionally, physically, on all levels.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's the way I've trained. I was taught, but also the way I want to see things and treat people as well. Because I think the elbow pain may be symptomatic of something else. So let's say a very simple example might be that someone comes in with an elbow pain, and then you ask, why do you have elbow pain? What is it that started off? Excuse me. And it might be that, oh, I spend lots of time, I don't know, hammering and doing stuff. I said, what do you do for a living? I work in an office. Oh, well, why are you hammering then? And then, I just come home and I feel that basically I need to get rid of the frustrations I have in life at home. So I've taken up this hobby where I'm making things. And so, okay, so that's really interesting. So what you get is two things: is that they're doing something in life to pay the bills, but they've now got something in life that's basically perhaps something they're more passionate about, but also something that they're using to perhaps get rid of their frustration. And then the next kind of question is, okay, so what are you making and how you're making it? And then they might describe the way in that they're doing the skill they're doing, or sort of the thing that they're doing, but it's the way they're describing it, that's what I'm listening out for. I'm not always concerned with the details in that. Oh, I'm making teddy bears, or I'm making cots for children's houses. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in how they say it. And if they're saying, oh gosh, yeah, I make these kids' houses and I put as much effort into it as much as I can, or I really try to screw everything in. And the energy that they're putting behind the words is what I'm looking out for and trying to see and understand. And then you can see where they're coming from, the place that they reside, the place they reside in their hearts and their minds, and how they operate from that place onwards. And so you can see, right, I see this person is more frustrated, this person's angry, this person has other issues going on, which is what's fueling them kind of perhaps using their elbow too strongly or hammering out the things with their arms too strongly, which is causing the pain. So we need to treat the elbow pain because that's what they've come in for. But what the bigger question and the bigger picture is what's causing the frustration, what's causing the headaches, the heartache, and any other type of pain. And that has to be addressed to and seen to and kind of softened and opened up for them.
And are people aware of that, what you're doing? Is it a case of that some people who are more on this type of, I suppose, mystical path are in search of that, are more open to it, and others just think it is a treatment for whatever part of the body? Is it always so obvious to people, or is it mostly a very subtle work?
It's what I try and do is basically meet people where they are and how they come in. So it's a range. I'm very lucky in where we live. We have a full range of people, those who are seeking and finding, and those who can't see. And the people who can't see, that's not a problem. They just have their elbow pain, whatever it is they come in for. And I treat that. And even though I do the other stuff alongside, at the same time, they basically don't see it. They don't know it. They don't see it. But I'm still treating them for what they've come in for, the label they've come in for. So, I meet their needs, and they're happy with that. But what happens sometimes, increasingly more so, is more and more people are coming in who are spotting what I'm doing. So they tend to be people who are a bit more sensitive, whether it's energetically, psychically, or emotionally. They can spot that there's something else going on. They can't always label it because, of course, I'm coming from a different place, a place that they may not have any experience with directly. But often they kind of see, feel, and know that there's something else is happening, and they will often just let it happen because they know that, one, I'm dealing with the pain or discomfort or the issue they've come in with, but two, they kind of feel trust enough for me to let me do what I do. And then often they're just happy that that's happening. They recognize something's happening, don't say anything, and just keep coming back. And then sometimes I get called out, and some people say, "Oh, what are you doing? What else is going on here?" And then depending on how they ask or what they ask, I will tell them. But I'll only really tell them what I think they can cope with. And if they ask the right questions, I will give them more answers. If they ask certain questions, I'll only give them certain answers. But I generally don't tell people what I'm doing. But if people can feel it or they know it, then that's fine. That's okay.
Because I have to say to the listeners out there, Mir is absolutely fantastic. I'm not being biased, but he is a fantastic therapist. And one thing I will share with everybody is that, for example, Mir also is my therapist, and we've known each other for many years. And one of the incidences that I had is where I had a lot of pain in my arm, and it was excruciating for about 2 years. And he did something. I didn't even realize he'd done it, but there was a click. You know, when you go to a therapist, you don't know what the hell's going on, then suddenly they do a click. But this wasn't a normal click, because for 3 days after that, I felt rough, really rough. But I felt totally that whatever energetically Mir was stuck there had left. And that was just coming from my arm and the pain in my arm that I'd had for 2 years. But it released. So I can really vouch for Mir's work, that it really does release things that I think could have been stuck, not only for years, Mir, but also maybe through ancestry.
Yeah, that's true. Things like that exist, and I think, unfortunately, not enough people pay enough attention to that. So sometimes it's, the time's right for something like that to be changed, and sometimes it carries forward. Those ancestral issues can they come up in all kinds of different ways. And
tell us a little bit about that, because that's something, Mir, that a lot of people have asked me about. Is it something that happened to my grandmother or great-grandmother or great-grandfather, or, because we carry that DNA, because this is why DNA is so important and is so precious, because it contains that element of the divine, but it's also the print, isn't it, through the lineage, the bloodlines that go through all of us. Tell us a little bit, because I know you know a lot about this, and people are very interested. You know, that's why I think sites like Ancestry and all of that, they're curious about, where did I come from? You know, and past lives. Is it because I don't know, I was Cleopatra, or I don't know who, you know, or a yak farmer in another life that I'm feeling so rough now? But, you know, it's something that I think within all of us historically, we want to know where, who, and why. Where did we come from? Who were the people that were our forefathers?
Yes, that's very important, because essentially the ancestral issues that have been brought forward to you kind of, they to an extent predetermine where you go and the direction that you go in, and perhaps your children, the issues that you pass down. So there can be all kinds of issues that are passed down through, let's say, the genetics. That's probably the easiest way to say in modern language. So as they're passed down to the genes, the things that come from 10, 14 generations back, they pass down. One of the things that happens is, let's say something was passed down from my father to me, and obviously things were passed down to him as well. But then there's, some of us have, let's say, a bigger obligation to perhaps clear some of that karma or some of those ancestral issues in our current lifetimes. Some of us have less obligation and can continue to do what we do in our own lives, perhaps, and perhaps do some of that and complete some of the obligations there too. So things can be passed down. I think they can be traced back quite reliably through different means by up to about 14 generations. So I think if you look at dental work, some of the dental work, some of the dentist specialists around the world, they can see issues that have happened to your forefathers and everything going back 14 generations.
Really?
Yeah. And face readers, I mean, we can basically look at things that perhaps go back again around about 10 to 14 maximum. It does become more and more faint as you go back, but I can see the obligations in your face that basically you have now, and perhaps you may carry forward, but perhaps where they've gone back a few generations too. So yeah, it can go back a long way. So some people, if you don't complete what has come forward onto you, then of course you pass it on to your children. Or if you don't have any kind of biological children of your own, or ones who are adopted or come to you, or ones that you foster, because they can carry your karma forward as well. They don't have to be blood. Then
they don't have to be blood.
They don't have to be blood. One of the things that happens is, obviously, we've got a daughter and we've adopted her. One of the things that happens is that they may or may not be adopted. They may or may not be, your actual blood, but karmically, you're tied. So they may still have to carry some of your karma forward and some of their own. But they come to you for different reasons, either to highlight issues that you have that need clearing, or to take them away from you and take them off your hands so that they can carry them forward and clear them for you. So that's two things that can happen with children.
That's incredible, really. That everyone we meet really has a reason to come into our life.
Yes, absolutely. Whether they're blood or not, some people don't have blood relations or relatives or siblings or anything like that. It doesn't matter. The friends and the company you keep are part of your history and your karma and everything that you carry with you and have carried forward to today. So, there are important lessons to be learnt there, and things that you can carry and share out amongst you and help each other with. Help each other with. But the ancestral stuff, it comes through the bloodlines, excuse me, most easily. And I guess that, we all have different obligations to clear them or not. And some people recognize it and clear things, and some people don't. I was seeing someone, actually I saw her yesterday, excuse me, but I saw her a couple of weeks ago, and she was complaining about something on her face. She didn't like the look of. And because she's particularly open, spiritually and energetically. And she was actually kind of moaning about her forehead and how basically she didn't like the shape of it. It had changed. I said, listen, the shape that's actually happening in your forehead and the place it's coming from actually shows there's an ancestral application coming from your mother's side that you are basically not completing and you haven't touched upon. And it's only because you're open to this that I'm going to tell you. But you need to go and find out what it is. And I think she spoke to her mother, and they found out. I think there were artists. I think her mother was an artist. Her grandmother was an artist. But she had not. Her mother had not done anything with it. Her grandmother had not done anything with it. And this patient, she had not done anything with it either. So then they had a discussion, and they were basically talking about what hadn't been done, what they'd wanted to do as growing up, with the talents that they had. But had not done anything with, and so now she's decided to go and do a little bit with that. What she does and where it goes, I don't know. But that's just one of the things that you explore. It's basically what was left uncompleted by others, and perhaps it's a talent for music, for art, for gardening, for something else, and they never had an opportunity in their own lives to do anything with. But maybe you do, So you go and do something with it, and that just opens things up.
That's an incredible story, because when you look at it, then we have a duty and a moral duty to our ancestors in a way, and to whoever comes after us, because really it's a field of energy that we're carrying through the universe, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. You can carry it in your physical body and the energy bodies around you. It's included in not only your family bloodline, but it's included in the community you live in, perhaps the area you live in as well, perhaps even the nation you live in. So there could be a collective karma there that everyone is a part of, that you can't really escape. And of course, that extends to the world, to the world and different parts of the universe and what's happening there. So we don't always have complete control or knowledge of what's going on and why things are happening, but we get caught up in our own stuff, in our own previous lives, our ancestors' lives, what's happening to our communities, our countries, religions, and the world in general. So there's all kinds of things overlapping that we are a part of. And that's why we can only just do the best that we do, individually and maybe as a collective, if you're lucky to be part of any type of community.
Indeed, because now that we're talking about this, whatever is happening in the world, it's very difficult for people, especially, and this is one of the things that people that got in contact with me after we had our talk last time, is that they're finding it very difficult to separate in a healthy way from the saturated, I suppose, opinions of whether it be the media, of people, whoever it is, outside of themselves. Because one of the most difficult things, I think, is to remain on your own path, Mir, isn't it? And not to be influenced by even your nearest and dearest if they're not actually helping you on that path.
Yes.
How does one deal with such a situation when they're bombarded constantly with information after information and opinions and thoughts? And sometimes, I don't know about you, but you can be driving and you can feel this heaviness in the air. It's so heavy, and it's a burden. And then other days you'll go out and it's lifted again.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do we do it? How do we deal? What methods can we use to deal with this? In a way, remain detached. Sort of, as Rumi said, you're in the world, but you're not of the world, so to speak. How do you do that?
There are different ways, different ways and different approaches. But for me personally, I try to understand who I am more than anything. Who I am and where I'm supposed to be going. There's this thing in in Taoist face reading or alchemy that we talk about, which is called your golden path. And
Mm-hmm.
what that states is everyone has a reason for being here. Now, a lot of people might not feel they have, but we do. It doesn't matter if you're in a small village in the middle of nowhere, there's only 50 people that live there. You are important. You're here for a reason. And there are things that you are here to do. And you have your own path. Or if you're part of, a million people in the city, who just feels like, you're insignificant. That's not true. No, we all have a reason to be here. And what happens is we got told by, whether it's society, religion, the news, fear of something, hope for something, whatever it might be that's trying to fill our brains, to think and feel in one way. But one of the things to do is basically just find out who you are and to develop yourself. Now, I did that through different means, through obviously kind of Taoism and kind of Qigong and meditation, and that was the way I did it. Some people choose to do it through religion, to find their meaning and their reason for being through religion. Other people do it by other means, and kind of whether it's meditation or anything else, that's all fine. But one of the things that happens is we get distracted in life by whatever it might be. Whether it's our own pain and suffering, or our us seeking comfort rather than pain, or whatever it might be. But an awful lot of things that happen tend to be distractions and knock us off our paths. And what we need to do, and what I tend to do, and this is just the way I work, I know other people work like this as well, is that I just try to clear the obstacles out of people's ways so that they can continue on their path. Now, your own golden path, your own reason for being here is your own and is really important. And what tends to happen, those closest to us, our family, especially our family, tend to be the ones that will try and take you off it. They will basically, for reasons of ego and other issues.
Why is that, Mir, that it's actually primarily, it's a lot of the time our families that seem to be hell-bent in some ways on pulling you towards a completely different road?
Yeah, that's right. So basically, depending on the perspective you have, if you basically if you're a spirit and you choose to come into the body that you're in presently, then you choose to have the challenges that the people in that family bring to you, because you have something to learn and to gain and to let go of. So they are, if you want to say it, they're your closest gatekeepers. They are the people that are not going to let you pass unless you learn those lessons. So they're meant to be there. They're kind of meant to make your life hard. They're meant to tell you can't do it. They're meant to tell you, no, don't waste your time. What are you doing that for? You're never going to do anything with your life. Don't. What do you think you can be? They're meant to bring you down. But what you're meant to do is learn how to grow out of that space, how you grow around it, how you go through it, how you go over it. And they, for their own reasons of ego, because they are fearful themselves, or they have their own tension in their own lives, their own disappointments, their own uncertainties. They don't want you to succeed in some way, shape, or form, because maybe they didn't in some way, shape, or form. And often you'll get lots of people kind of try and push you forward, and they'll tell you can do it, and you're lucky if you've got that, which is wonderful. So it's just it's nice that they'll say, of course I know you can do this. I know you can go forward. I know you can become better. I know you can learn this thing. I know you can become that person. And if you've got that, then you're really fortunate. And I think what happens sometimes is when you do follow your own passion and people see that you can't be deterred, sometimes they change, and they're the ones that throw up all the biggest obstacles. But once you focus on yourself and you start changing, those people around you change too. And suddenly they're saying, well, you know what? I knew you could do it. Hold on. 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you told me I couldn't become anything. Now you're telling me that you knew I could do it all along. It's just, but they change too, so in the process of you changing. So the important thing is to focus on yourself, and who you are, where you think you're meant to be, and to keep working towards it. Just develop yourself, let go of the obstacles and the distractions, because on our golden path, in the place we're supposed to be, our kind of destiny, if you want to call it, we can basically become distracted. We can obviously not meet our true calling. We can basically be taken off the path, and that's not what you're here for. And I suspect everyone who's listened to this podcast and listened to your podcast, they know they're here for a reason, and they want something more. They know they can achieve more, whether it's for themselves or for others, and for humanity in general. So we all get distracted. It's just a matter of kind of like bringing yourself back by whatever means works for you and that you know of in your culture and in your way, to improve yourself. And then you will see and feel that others will change too. And it's just, you just have to work yourself. And I think I said the last time I was on the podcast, when I've been doing martial arts for a long, long time, but when I started to get really serious into it, people were saying, well, no, why are you doing that? You're getting hurt all the time. Don't do that. They've got our t-shirt used to have a picture of a Buddha in it. And some of my religious friends will be like, you shouldn't do that. That's satanic work. You can't have a picture of a Buddha on you. They're trying to bring you towards devil worship. And I was having people left, right, and centre. Especially my family saying, "What are you doing? Well, you're wasting your time. Don't do it." And decades later, they're all the same people who are going around telling everyone how proud they are that I've achieved this, that, and the other in the martial arts and other things. So, look what he can do. Look, I see. That's my son. That's my uncle. That's my whatever. They're the same people who were a few decades ago telling me not to waste my time and not to go forward in life. And you still get it. You get it. So it's just, you just have to try and find out who you are. Just, go for it. Don't listen to distraction, because distraction is there to challenge you and to make you want it more and to clear it. And you learn things about the people, who you are, and the challenges you have in front of you and around you. You're supposed to have those. We're not supposed to have an easy life.
No, that's the great misconception, I think.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Everyone wants a nice life where they've got lots of money, lots, really perfect.
I just want to be happy.
Good
friends.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be healthy. And then I tell you what. And then as we speak to people, I've spoken to people who they've got their money. They've got reasonable health, and then they're all bored. They're all bored. They're really unhappy because they haven't got challenges in life. They haven't got a daily struggle that's making them do things. They haven't got an aim. Aim is really important. Like, what? I want to lose 2 stone, but I can't because I have this. And then you work hard towards that. I was just like, what? I really want to be able to, play basketball and get that ball in that basket. And then you can't do it. So the struggle is important. The struggle is what makes us human. Not coming into this life where basically you have all the money, all the gifts in the world, and you have this really, kind of unaffected life, which isn't very fulfilling in any way. There's something missing if you come into a life like that.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said. I actually love it. And, that these people that we have, in effect, a soul contract with, are the gatekeepers, but they're the gatekeepers to a huge potential within us, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. This my daughter, she was asking me about what a phoenix was, and I was telling her the story of how the phoenix basically is reborn stronger through adversity and deep challenge, and that transformation and that alchemical change is what made the phoenix what it is and what everyone looks up to, and and that's what makes them so amazing. And that's what we will have our individual families for. The challenges you have, the people saying, well, you know what, you'll never do this, you can't do this, don't listen to that, don't waste your time. That's the whole point, that what you're supposed to do with that is to take lessons from that and use it as fuel use all the people who are telling you, no, you're rubbish, you can't do this, you're a waste of time. Use that as fuel to move you forward. Don't let it press you down. You're supposed to take it, transform it, add it to yourself, and use it to become even better. Really important. It's very, very important.
Yeah, but it's not so easy, is it, Mir?
It's not, but
to do that.
No, it's not. No, and that's the individual challenge we have. But if you begin with that actual mindset, just to begin with, then it's something you can transform and find a way of transforming yourself in some way, shape or form to power you forward. You know, I don't know, what's one of the things? So one of the things I think, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but, you know, for a long time, I've had the challenge of trying to learn how to speak, read and write Chinese. It's very difficult. But of course,
my goodness, what a challenge.
Oh gosh, yeah, and I don't have the time and all these kind of things. So it's I've got lots of challenges. But, you know, I remember a little while ago, someone who's a colleague who's Chinese, and I said, oh, you know what, I've been trying to learn that. And they just laughed. And I said, don't waste the time. What do you want to do that for? I was like, oh, okay. So basically, they don't want me to succeed. They're looking, they want me to fail in some way, shape or form. Maybe not maliciously, not in a bad way, but as far as they're concerned, it's a waste of my time, and I'm never going to do it. So, of course, I use that thought, you know what, no, I'm going to spend more time doing this so that when I have a conversation with them in Chinese, they'll be like, wow, you really did it, you know, rather than kind of thinking, oh, you know what, I think they're right, I'm not going to waste my time. And then I go, you know, I stay exactly where I am in life, which is fine. Staying where you are exactly can be a really good achievement and not going backwards. But, you know, for me, I just have that mindset that, you know, people can say, oh, you can't do it, to make me think, actually, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and not just prove you wrong, but I'm going to do it by this really nice, kind-hearted way, by becoming really good at something that you think I can't do, and by not pushing in your face, but by showing by example that I can be competent and very good at it and happy doing so. And that will change you in your mind and your perspective and how you see me. And it's, you know, and that's just a decision-making thing, just in my mind. And then from there, you move forward and then you find a way to do it incrementally. You know, whatever the skill might be or the issue might be, like, you know, some people, you know, learning to walk, learning a language, learning how to draw, playing an instrument, whatever it might be, you know, moving to a different country. If you don't try, you'll never find out. Or maybe you have to do things in a different way. You know, it's not always the way we think it's going to be.
And everyone has their own personal mountain to climb, I suppose, is one thing that we sometimes forget, that we don't really know what's going on with people. Even though we've known them for years, sometimes we really don't know who they are. No. I've found that time and time again, with friends, with family, where I've thought one thing and they totally surprise me and say something completely different. And I said, well, that's not like you. And they will say, well, actually, that's the real me. I just haven't had the courage to say it.
Yes, that's right. There's I forgot who said it, but there's a quote that basically people have their public lives, they have their private lives, and they have a secret life.
Yes, I've heard of that, but I don't know who said that.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's just, you know, and what happens is you get things from those people, from those three different places. So you get people who speak in their public persona all the time, but then sometimes, you know, you sit with them and they start speaking to you privately, and then you hear things from that place, and you're like, oh, this is different to what they put out and who I thought they were. Yeah. And then on the odd occasion, not often, but sometimes you might hear something from them from their secret lives and how they think secretly, which can be quite surprising often, you know. So sometimes it can really throw you, and sometimes often you're very surprised. And I think what happens is, you know, we all have imprints from different parts of our lives. So when your mum shouted at you when you were 5 years old, and when your dad smacked you when you were 7 years old, and when the neighbour said something really mean to you when you were 11 years old, and
Mm.
when your friends were really horrible to you at school when you were 13-year-old, when you were bullied at 14-year-old. And what happens is, though, you have those little imprints freeze on you at those different parts of your lives, and then you speak as an injured, a bullied 14-year-old. Sometimes when something happens, that 14-year-old bullied person comes out, because you're frozen in time in that place, and that's still in your mind, in your body, in your energy. And then something else happens, and then you speak as a 4-year-old who's scared, because you're like, oh my God, heights, oh, I can't do this. And you see people's faces change, their voices change, they revert back to being a 4-year-old. And then you kind of, sometimes you're speaking as an arrogant 15-year-old who thinks that they know everything. We speak from different places all the time. And I think
true.
And I think and that's who we are, because of our own fears and our own uncertainties. But then when we trigger other people's, and then they attack you with that. So you might be speaking to a friend who's 45, but then you say, you know what, I'm going to I'm going to go traveling, and I'm going to go to Turkey next year. And then they speak to you as someone who is 12 years old, who heard bad things about Turkey. And they're like, oh, don't go to Turkey, because I heard it's really dangerous. And you'll see their voice change, their face change, and everything else.
Yes.
And whoa, okay, or you say something that they weren't expecting, and then they lash out at you as an injured 7-year-old, and they're like, no, I didn't say that to you. It's like, oh, hold on, I didn't say anything. I was just saying that I was going to perhaps do this with my life. I wasn't, telling you had to do it. But that's the place they're coming from, and that's one of the things that that's what I try and get rid of as much as possible for people, is that I try and attach those places, those frozen places inside people, and get those to slowly dissolve. And that's what I do for myself through meditation and Qigong. And that's what we do with martial arts as well, actually. And that's an important part of trying to become free, and a free person, is to find out where you're frozen in time, what those triggers are, and where you're coming from in that place of time, and use breathing, meditation, movement, prayer, whatever it might be, to dissolve and let go of those places. You don't need to be that scared 7-year-old anymore. You don't need to be that angry 13-year-old anymore. You don't need to be that person who's bullied at 15 anymore. If you let go of those, and then you've got less things holding you back from achieving your destiny and becoming who you're supposed to be. Unfortunately, we hold on to those things because people stick them into us using fear, anger, and hatred, and all kinds of other means. And often we do basically just hold on to them, and use them to, be the victim in life, or to be angry, the reason we're angry all the time, or be the reason that we are in general. So if we can kind of let go of those, then what you have is someone who's freer and has the spontaneity to be happy and to do things, and just to be free and easy, not someone who's held back and still angry because something that happened to them as a child, or as a 15-year-old, as a 20-year-old, that they carry with them every single day. If we, that's what we do. It's what everyone does. But you need to put equal amount of, or maybe even more time and effort into trying to let that go. So, imagine you're carrying, you're carrying the scared 3-year-old, you're carrying the angry 4-year-old, you're carrying with you the angry 5-year-old, you're carrying with you the bullied 13-year-old. You're carrying all these big things with you all the way through your adult life, plus all the other experiences you have in life. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. So that's why meditation, prayer, energy, arts, therapists, that's what they're all there for, is to help you let go of those, and then to move on beyond those. Not to spend all your time in therapy talking about how you were bullied when you were 13. You need to get over it. You don't need to be in therapy for 40 years talking about being a bullied 14-year-old and why your mum wasn't nice to you. You need to do that for a little bit of time, and let go of it. The whole point is to let go of those things, and then to move on, and then you become who you are, and then you can fulfill your destiny. So it's just that's really, really important. You know, whichever way people do it, we need to move beyond the things that we hold on to, the pain and the tension. You know, we need to move beyond it.
It's so profound what you're saying, Mir, because it is a whole, in one way, we can look at mankind and we can say, my goodness, we are really, as a creation, you know, that we have so much to us, so many aspects to us, so many levels to us, and how we even get on with anyone else, it's sort of always, it defies belief for me, because I'm always looking at people and thinking, how the hell are people still walking the planet? Because we have so many universes within us.
Yes.
And it's trying to fathom all of that out, let alone trying to fathom somebody else's out. But one of the things that is really difficult, I think, out there is, how do you begin? Because, you know, it's the first step.
Yes.
The first step. What would you say the first step? This is a huge question, but what is the first step to finding your peace, to finding yourself? Because we've got to begin somewhere. And if someone is out there now thinking, what Mir is saying, you know, is fantastic, I absolutely agree with that. Where do I begin? I don't know what to do. There's all this stuff going on and I'm scared and I'm afraid and, you know, I'm nervous.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stop that chatter, the banter, the fear, and begin?
Okay. First, I would say is just to be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your own thoughts. Be loving and kind to your own history and where you've come from. You need to be kind to yourself. Often people will punish themselves, say that they're not good enough, they don't deserve something, I can't do this, all those kind of things. So first, just be kind to yourself and think, okay, I can do this. Let's just find out how. So, you know, be kind, be gentle to yourself. And, you know, if you can extend that to the people around you, whether they're hurting you or not, perhaps be kind to them, you know, as much as you can do too. That's first and foremost. And then the way I did it was to try and find something that's bigger outside of yourself. The one thing that people should know, especially the people who listen to this, is that there's something greater than us. We're part of a whole. And there's so much more that we can all tap into. And I think if people listen to this podcast, they know that already. So they need to find out what that is for them. Now, what they might have access to them might be a religious organization, you know, because that's all they have. If they're really lucky, they might have local teachers or maybe teachers from afar. They might have a local wise person that they can speak to, a relative who knows things, a friend. Or if they're really, really lucky, they've got nature, the biggest teacher of all. You know, they've got natural mountains and waters around them, clean waters, lovely trees, clean air. If they've got that, nature's an amazing teacher. Where all of this comes from, you know, the sun, the moon, the sky, the stars.
Yeah.
And that's where we all get everything from. That's the ultimate teachers and teachings. So first, be kind to yourself and know that things can change and you can move forward. Then seek something outside of yourself. Don't, as one of my teachers used to say, is, you know, don't think so small. You know,
yes,
it's not just you. You are part of the whole. Don't think small. And then, you know, even if you're in a concrete block somewhere, you know, a concrete housing estate with nothing around you, or you're in the middle of nowhere, just a village, and you listen to this, you know, live, or you listen to this in 50 years' time. If you've got a tree, a patch of earth, you've got a wall, a mountain, whatever it might be. Just sit and feel what's going on, knowing that things can change. And sometimes, well, often we have to look out of ourselves to find out what that is. Find a teacher. Now, if you're lucky, you can learn all your lessons from nature, just from the air we breathe, from the sky we look up at, from the sun, the moon, the plants that are growing, from the ants on the earth walking. Those are actually the greatest teachers, but they're probably, the lessons learned there are too big for us to understand. So what we need to do is come down in size, and what we need to do then is speak to people, and speak to people who have seen the greater lessons learned in those big places that are open to everyone, and get those teachers and people and teachings to translate for us. So it might be in some books, it might be from the person that you can speak to, who no one else speaks to. Everyone thinks they're a bit crazy or a bit strange, but they know more than anyone else. It might be speaking to a child. It might be stroking, an animal. Just spending a little bit of time with a nice pet. The lessons are there, but often they're just too big for us to comprehend. Sometimes if we can be still with them and sit there with them, things can come to us, and then we go and get the universe translated for us by speaking to people or looking into books or seeking out teachers. But now in the day of the internet and with people listening to this podcast, etc., they've not only got one teacher open to them, they've got thousands or millions. Absolutely, the whole world is open to them. And that they can learn things for free. You don't have to do things that are paid for. You can go into things like YouTube and carry on searching, feeling and finding what makes sense to you in the place you're at right now. It's really important, because we all come from communities and societies that tell us what we should believe and what we should what you have to believe. And if you think, well, actually I don't quite fit into that, I know there's something more different that works better for me, in the day of the internet, you've got it there. So it's just you go and find, just Google all the things that interest you, things that you've never heard of. Spend time with all of them. But when you do go and find out all these nice fancy things, you find 5, 10, 20 years to study with a teacher. You go to the best universities, you go to the other side of the world to speak to teachers. The one thing it kind of comes back to is nature. It comes to nature and breathing. They all teach you to breathe. They all teach you to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose, feel the air and the breath fill your body, and then take stuff from that body and out into the universe again. And it always comes back to nature, always comes back to the universe. So if you have access to really nice teachers and you have lots of money to go travel and do all those kind of things, go and search. And even if you do have the money to do all that, you always come back to nature. And if you don't have any money to travel and learn all that kind of stuff, there are lots of free resources on the internet, etc., that you can find. But then again, just your breath. Bring it back to the breath. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel your body. Feel what's going on in your mind, and just learn to let go. It's just letting go is the important thing.
Letting go, that's the difficult one. And also I found something really important. I have a friend of mine and he's very hot on this, but is the art of forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it, Mir?
It is. Yeah, there are places, I think, like Hawaii and other places in the South Pacific that's a big practice. There's a huge practice of forgiveness, of forgiving yourself or forgiving others. One of the most famous things was when there was the apartheid in South Africa, when Nelson Mandela got people together, and rather than so what happened is you had the black farmers and black workers talking about the white kind of like their white employers and how mean they were to them and what they did, and rather than seek revenge, they just wanted to be heard. And that, and they spent months doing that. It's just getting people talking and saying, you know, you did this to me. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to my life. This is what happened to my family. And I just want you to hear that and see what you did. And people would, you know, they didn't realize that they had done that or didn't want to know. And then they just basically asked for forgiveness. They weren't, you know, compensated, saying, okay, right, now give me your farm. That wasn't happening. They were saying, I just want you to see what happened. And people were making amends and just basically forgiving each other. That was really important when Nelson Mandela was alive and doing all of that. And so, yeah, definitely forgiveness is important. It's a difficult practice. It's a very, very difficult practice.
It is difficult. And when I think I've tried it, you know, on certain times in my life, and I continue to practice it, but it's not so easy. And even when you say, you know what, Mimi, I forgive myself for allowing to be in certain situations. I'm sorry that I allowed that person or that situation to continue to disrespect my soul. And that sort of sends a message, doesn't it, out there, within and out there, of a greater understanding of who we are as souls.
Yes, absolutely. And it's important to kind of, if you can, get to that point and then to move beyond. You don't want to get stuck in years of forgiveness and years of tension, kind of years of self-therapy, because you want what your soul is here for to be fulfilled. And that's really, really important. And I think a lot of people don't think that they're special enough or don't think they're deserving enough of that. And they are.
Why do people think that, Mir? Because I hear that so much.
God, yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I don't deserve it. What is that stick that we all beat ourselves up with?
It's usually because other people, remember, have been injured along the way, and the other people that you're surrounded by, you know, they're stuck in they're hurt 6-year-olds, they're angry 7-year-olds. They're operating from all those places as well. And because maybe they failed at something, you know, let's say something as simple as putting their socks on the right way around when they were 3 years old, and you know, and they felt really hurt and just like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't put my socks on. But what happens is that programming stays in them. I'm not good enough, and that kind of I can't put my socks on correctly becomes I'm not good at this, I'm not good enough, and that's a program that stays open in their minds. And you know, for a lot of people, they don't let go of that. So you know, way down the line, they kind of project that onto other people, and so you know, when they, you know, they've got that thing, they don't even know where it's come from. That, you know, they were 3 years old, couldn't put their socks on, and now they think they're not good enough. That's all it came from. And maybe lots of other times, you know, maybe they couldn't swim the first time they went into the pool. Maybe they couldn't use a fork the first time they tried to hold a fork. There's all these times when they're told and feel that they couldn't do things. So when they bump into you and you have a dream and say that you want to do something, all that happens is all those programs inside them open up and they project it onto you and say, no, you can't do it. You're not good enough. So you know, it comes from them and their perceived failures and misgivings, and they kind of share that onto you and put that onto you, and then you carry that and you think, you know what, maybe I can't do that. I can't do this. I'm never going to be any good. And then you just carry that same program, and it's just like I'm going to use the word, it's kind of, unfortunately, it's like a virus that spreads, you know. It's just in these times we all know about viruses, and it's just you know, it's one of those things, and we spread it onto other people. And that's one of the important things about forgiveness and about letting go, you know, through meditation, through breathing, through movement, is let that go. Because when you come into contact with that energy of I'm not good enough, I can't do this, and therefore no one else can do this, you just contact what that is energetically, and you dissolve it, and you just let it go and move beyond. So the next time you bump into someone, you're not projecting your own issues onto them. And then you can, at the very least, say, well, okay, we'll see how it goes. See if you can learn how to ride that bike. Let's see how it goes. Or maybe you'll be like, actually, you know what? I bet you can ride that bike. Let me help you. Let's do it together. because you've let go of your own fears and doubts and uncertainties. So it's just, we're all operating, like I said, in our own little universes full of fear and tension, and we bump into each other, and we kind of almost pass those little fears and uncertainties and tensions and angers and hatreds and everything onto everyone else, and all our anxieties, and we pass it all on. But if you learn to kind of let go of your own stuff, then suddenly you're someone who's not passing it on, and you can't take it on from others either. That's the important thing. And the more people we teach to let go of their stuff, the less stuff there will be around, and there'll be more and more people not passing things on. And we're not here to basically heal the world and tell everyone to change and do everything. The most important thing is that we work on ourselves, and because of our proximity, people kind of look to us and will say, "Oh my God, well, they've changed, and they're no longer operating from a place of fear. They're not operating from a place of anger. I could do that too." So you just lead by example. You don't always push it onto people. You just do your thing, and people will watch and follow and learn, and they'll copy as well.
That's I think the best teachers are, is that they lead by example and through love, because we can, and I've said this before, we can force somebody to do something and they'll do it through fear, but they'll never really learn the lesson, and they'll never really enjoy what they're doing. Or we can actually, through love, show them. And then that becomes part of them. And then they can, in fact, create the ripple effect to help others, help themselves. Because what we have forgotten, Mir, I believe, I don't know, you'll have to tell me what you think, is we have actually forgotten the power of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because essentially what happens is we just get caught up in all the distractions. You're absolutely right. Each one of us is powerful. It doesn't matter what your physical body is like, what your health is like. We all have an innate power that can affect the others around us and the world around us. And what happens is, we get stuck in those different places, and rather than operate from our power and from ourselves, we operate from our splintered selves, from our splintered places. So you're not truly being who you are. And, to let go of everything means you can fulfill your destiny. You can go on your path towards being who you are. And, people will see that and free themselves too, or ask you, how did you change? How did you do this? How can I do it too? And then you show, help, offer the advice. And if it works for them, they can do it the same way, or perhaps they continue on their journey and find out elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's it's really, really important. You're right.
And one of the things, I don't know if you ever saw this video, it's on YouTube, and it was, I don't know the correct name for it, when there's a lot of swallows at the same time. And they created this beautiful dance, as so many birds do.
Yes, yeah.
And then there is this whole music about it, because they're actually all singing. They're singing their own song, but collectively, this huge and fantastic orchestra that's going on, because everybody knows his own voice.
Yes, that's right. You have to have your own voice. It's really important. People will try and impose theirs onto you and make you have theirs, or what they think you should have. They'll tell you, you've got to have this. No, you have to be like this. But you have your own voice. It's really, really important. You've got to find it. And unfortunately, people are stuck in their own uncertainties and anxieties about finding out who they are. And, you don't need to be horrible or angry or hateful to other people to become who you are. You just, in fact, you're right. You have to become loving, and you have to, you have to forgive, and you have to let go to become who you are. And then you sing your own song. And I think, I don't know if this is I think I tell this all the time, but one of my teachers, and I might have said this in the last podcast, so I'm sorry if I said it, but
no, don't worry. We need reminding.
One of the analogies one of my teachers was saying, my main Chinese medical teacher, he said just like you're, but all like tuning forks, and you can have, you've got your own sound, your own vibration, but what happens is life. And the things that happen to us are kind of like, they're like barnacles, those things that stick on rocks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And those and our problems in life and our tensions and fears and everything, they stick to us. And when you hit that tuning fork, it's no longer your sound. You have this odd sound.
Yes.
That's dulled and it's out of tune. And then throughout lives, we collect more and more barnacles, and we become more and more out of tune. And before you know it, you don't sound anything like you are at all, because you're full of these barnacles. And what we do is basically through Qigong, through breathing, through meditation, through prayer, through physical exercise, through forgiveness, through letting go, we clear those barnacles, and then we become clean of them and cleaner of them, until we are about as clean as we can be, and we sound like who we are supposed to sound. And then what you'll find is people will look to you and gravitate towards you, because they'll want to sound clean too. They realize by looking at your example that they are carrying all these old barnacles, and they want their tuning fork to sound clean, because they know this is not their sound anymore. And then they do the same thing. And what tends to happen is people gravitate towards you because they know that you can clean them. They can be clean just by your presence, or by following your example, or just by getting inspiration by hearing from you or seeing you once and thinking, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to clean myself too. And then you can have that influence throughout the world and throughout your community. And clean tuning forks hang around with other clean tuning forks, and they work in sync. So you have that nice, beautiful sound, but everyone has their own sound. And when they all tune together, you have that wonderful harmony.
And that's what raises the whole energy and vibration of your area, in effect.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, as you said, where you are. You could be, I don't know, in Outer Mongolia, you could be in London, you could be wherever.
Yeah.
The point is that where you are raising that vibration.
That's right.
Personally. And because of that, it resonates in that whole space that you actually become that space.
Yes, exactly. You are where you're meant to be. It might not. It might be that you want to get out of there, and I totally understand that. We've all found ourselves in those places, but right now you're there where you're meant to be. And if you can clean your tuning fork, if you can clean yourself, then you are the person that is there to do that job, to help and inspire others too. And it might be that you're only just there to work on yourself, because there might be lessons that you have to learn from your previous lives that need to be cleared. Maybe you're needing to clear your family's karma by going through what you're going through right now, and you're the last person in the line, so you're there to clean it. So it's important that you clean your tuning fork, is that you clear yourself. And if you can help those around you by example or by meaningful kind of change, then that's a wonderful thing to do. We don't all have to be teachers or guides, whatever, but by being ourselves, you basically implicitly become one, because people think, wow. And you might feel that you have nothing to teach or to offer, and think, listen, I listen to podcasts, I don't have a teacher, but I did learn this lesson, and the lesson was to let go. Is to forgive. The lesson I learned was to clean my tuning fork. My lesson was that the pain and suffering that I have might have come through the life I have and from my family karmically down the ancestral line, but I'm learning to let go of it now, and people will see that from afar and want to do the same thing too. So you just do your work, and people will find you. And even if you don't think they often are. They're looking at you and wondering what's going on. How one of the things that happens in clinic, I guess I talk about clinic, is one of the things we were first taught in clinic is you might be sat there watching that patient, because we're taught to observe all these tiny little things,
Mm.
But don't think that patient isn't watching you just as closely. They're watching you too.
Yes, that's
You
very
know,
true.
you might be watching them, but they're watching you too. So you might be there in your community, out in the, some Highlands community where there's only 50 people who all like drinking too much or, doing whatever they do. And, you feel you don't fit in. But, they're dragging you in. But suddenly you become clearer, you become happier. You've let go of stuff. They're all watching you. All your community knows this has changed. They might not understand it. They might not know what's going on, but they can feel it. Just like, when the people come and see me and I do things, I do things, and certain people know what's going on and certain people don't. And that's fine, because I just do my thing. And if it works for them, that's enough. And same with you too. We all just do our things, and and people will know.
It's true. And also, I think that I believe this greatly, that we are actually, I love tuning forks. I'm really into that. And I got myself some tuning forks, Mir, actually. And I'm fascinated. Do you do any tuning fork work at all?
No. I've got a friend who was big into them and uses them as part of her treatments.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. But I think that we attract, with our own music, with our own sound, the people, everyone is sending out their vibration. And the ones who are on our vibration, we will attract.
That's right.
And I think it's very important that we're not sending out the wrong vibration, because that's why some people will say, I don't know why I attract this type of person or this type of person. Well, why don't you try? I say that for myself as well, I have to say, not standing on any high moral ground. And I say this to myself, why don't you try and just changing that vibration, turn that radio channel a little bit and let's see what happens. And I consciously do it. And then literally it's a fragment of a move within myself and it changes the whole thing.
Important. Yeah, well done. Yeah, that's very, very important. You'll feel those people will drop away from you, because you've changed. Those negative influences feel that they can't attach to you and they can't drain from you anymore. People know about psychic vampires and the fact that they kind of latch onto you because they want to drain your energy. But if you don't, if you don't fall into that same pattern of letting them drain you, suddenly they can't drain you anymore. Suddenly they just won't hang around. Because they can't take from you anymore. It's just, they will just disappear. Some of them disappear really quietly and you never hear from them again. And some of them, will attack you and say, what, I don't know what's wrong with you. And then they just disappear. That's fine. You're not there to fix the world or to fix them. You're there to, fix yourself first and foremost. And then what comes out of that comes out of that. That's it. It's fine.
It's important, isn't it, to be around the people, to surround yourself. I think it's so important. I had a teacher when I was in school and I was about 10 years old, and it was really important for me to be, the class monitor. Yes. That was so important. I don't know why, but I think it's because I'm a bit bossy at times. But anyway, that was really important. And she came up to me and she said, do you know what, Mimi? You need to change the company that you're keeping. I was flabbergasted, Mir, but to this day, I remember that lesson. And I used to think, well, I quite like these people, that I'm hanging around with. But as time went on, I changed the company. I became a monitor, which was so important to me at that point. And then I realized that those people that I was, I was only a child, that I was hanging around with, so to speak, I didn't really like them anyway, and they didn't like me. And it was just a point of convenience because they lived around the corner from me.
Yes.
So that was a huge lesson in life, which I'm still learning, is that you have to really be so careful with who you keep the company of.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, bringing it back to the whole kind of thing about destiny, is that you can be taken off your path. You can be, by the people that you're surrounded by, and they'll want to take you off their path because they're off their paths.
Yeah.
So, and it's important to become yourself. And if you have to lose the company, if you have to lose those friends, or you have to lose, certain amount of security, then that's provided it's safe to do so, and you're not like in some dangerous, really dangerous life or death situation, then that's a really good thing to do, and it's really, really important, because they will drag you down. They will drag you down, and they want to, subconsciously they want to, or unconsciously is a better word. They will drag you down because their lives are being dragged down.
Yes.
There were so many things. I remember there was this guy who was I went to school with. Really, by the time I got to school, because I changed schools in high school, when I got there, he was smoking, he's drinking. We were all 14 years old, and he's smoking, he's drinking. He was one of the bad boys. I didn't really spend that much time with him. We were always kind of civil to each other. And then I think, for some reason, a few years later, we started to get on really well. And I found out that, he was a really talented runner. The teachers in the school said, listen, you can be one of the best in the county. You could become amazing. You could go really far. He just had this natural ability. But his life circumstances, his family circumstances pulled him down out of that, and he never fulfilled his talent. And one of the things that he said to me, he said, listen, oh man, it's such a shame you and me didn't become friends early on in life, because we could have gone off and done all kinds of things too. And I thought, oh my God, thank God I didn't, because I would have been dragged down by your circumstances as well. And just, your life can take that turn, and you can end up somewhere very different. But one of the things you've got to know is that you can pull it back too. It's important.
That's important to know, isn't it? That it's not all final. Wherever you are in life, you have the ability in that moment to change it completely.
Yes. Yeah. It's not always going to be easy, but, breathe in through the nose, feel what's happening in your body, breathe out through the mouth, and let go of that tension and make that decision. Let go. Just let go, make that decision to let go of the bad energy inside of you, the things that you're carrying mentally, psychologically, and make that decision to let go of the things that you're carrying around you. Those friends that are no good for you, the company you keep who are no good for you, the energy around you that's bad, the location you live in, whatever. If you can change those things, then change that. Decide to change your negative mindset. Different from being that. Don't be that angry 14-year-old anymore. Let go of that, and be the person that people want to be around. People want to hang around with you, not because they're scared of you or they're told to respect you because you have an important family or you've got lots of money, or people will gravitate towards you because they'll just feel that there's something good around you that they want to be around.
Yeah,
and that's important. And if you can get them to feel that and be that as well, then they can be that for other people too.
It's very true. You know the film The Golden Child?
Yes. Yeah.
And Eddie Murphy, I love that film. And one of the things that I really remember about that film is, I don't know whether you remember this scene, but the golden child is going to save the world, and he's actually, they kidnap him and they put him in this place and they surround him with evil. But the point is, the child is never affected by it because it maintains its focus and discipline to its destiny, I suppose. So no matter how much evil they're surrounding it by, he's remaining intact inside. And I think that's a good lesson at these times, isn't it, Mir?
Yes, it is. It is. I think with all the, where we're talking now, kind of a year into the pandemic in the UK. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? We went into lockdown a year ago.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday. Yeah.
So 23rd of March 2020, the UK went into lockdown. That was, a year anniversary yesterday. And I think the world is still encompassed in fear and tension. And of course, anxiety and uncertainty. And people are surrounded by that and have that, pushed into them and thrown down them an awful lot. So people are in a state of anxiety and fear and tension constantly, all the time. Suicide rates are up, and self-harming's up, and depression's up, and it's a very difficult time for everyone around the world. And that's why it's really important for us to kind of like to seek out our own power and to let go of things that are negative. Now, one of the things that I made the clear decision to do a few years ago was not to watch the news. I don't watch the news at all and haven't done.
Neither do I.
Yeah, so it's been great, you know. And I remember listening to other people saying, "What do you mean, you know, you don't watch the news?" And it's been the best thing I ever did. And I remember thinking those people who didn't watch the news before, I thought they were crazy. It's just like, you know, how do you know something's going to happen? People will tell you. People will tell you if there's something important, you know.
Yes,
it's not a problem. But all that the news channels do is basically spread fear and anxiety and hatred. You're told to hate one group, or you're told to hate this one, you know, people in these peoples in this country. You're told to hate them, and then, you know, then you're taught to fear others, and then you've got anxiety, and you're just like, oh, now we should hate this other group of people because we don't like them now, you know. And now our government have decided we don't like those people, but we like these again now, and it's just horrible, you know. So it's just we're just surrounded by fear and hatred. So I would say switching off the news, you know, is the main thing, definitely.
And newspapers.
Yes, and newspapers. Don't look at the newspapers. Don't listen to radio stations. You know, I listen to the radio. I watch TV, but you know, when the radio's on, and as soon as it comes to the news, you know, every hour on the hour, there's like a 2-minute news break. I put the volume down, you know, or I switch it off. Or the news comes on at night time, I switch the channel over on the TV. You know, because it's basically, regardless of which country you're in, it's going to be basically government propaganda. Whichever, you know, government is in power, whichever country you're in, they want to tell the people what they want them to feel like and understand. So if you can like switch off or make up your own mind, or have a little break from that constant being told who to hate and be fearful of, that at least give you some space to breathe, and then you can perhaps, you know, go off and do things that, you know, help you to breathe and relax and let go of. So it's just not surrounding yourself by people who are full of hate and fear and anger, not surrounding yourself or listening to or watching news that again surrounds you with fear and hatred and anxiety, and keeping away from all those things is the first step to kind of, you know, taking your mind down to a much quieter place. And then from there you move into a place where you think, okay, what can I do that's going to make me less anxious, less angry, less tense? And like I said, nature is the best thing. If you're lucky enough to have nature around you, go for a walk in the park, sit under a tree, you know, look at the mountains, look at the moon at night time, look at the stars, you know, spend 20 minutes looking up the stars.
Well, even the scars.
Yeah. The scars. Yeah, look at the scars too.
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're there because they're saying that we survived.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really important. There are lessons to be learned, things to forgive and things to let go of. You know, and just, you know, maybe we're looking up at all you've got is cloudy, you know, is cloud. Look at the changing cloud. You know, nothing's permanent. So, you know, nature's the greatest teacher. And, you know, the one thing we all have, regardless of what our bodies are like, is we've got the in and the out breath. So, you know, breathe in, feel the breath go into the body, breathe out, and let go of the tensions and fears from your body and mind. And that's the one that I teach the kids when I teach kids. It's just, you know, is breathe in through the nose if you can, feel the tensions in your body, and then breathe them out from your mouth. And then breathe in and feel the tensions in your mind, and breathe them out from your mouth. And we can all do that. You might not have access to a kind of spiritual practice or a teacher or anything like that, but we all have the breath, and it comes back to the breath, it comes back to breathing, it comes back to nature. And we've all, you know, hopefully we've all got access to all of those fairly regularly. Yeah.
And while we live, there's hope.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's always hope. You know, there's always things things can always change. Nothing's permanent. You know, we're not going to be permanent. Humans aren't going to be permanently here.
Yeah.
You know, but part of the greater whole. You know, don't think so small.
Yes, don't think so small. Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah, but it's such a privilege to be here for the short amount of time that we are here. You know, whether really for 5 years, 10 years, 10 seconds, or we're we're on this planet for 100 years as humans. It's just it's a big privilege, and it's an amazing thing to be conscious and to see the world around us. So even though
That's the key, isn't it? To be
yeah,
conscious.
it is, yeah, it is. And we're weighed down by our old selves, our old experiences, and other people's old selves and experiences, and other people's fears and tensions from the community, especially from your family. And you just have to become that tuning fork and start slowly letting go of those things that are weighing you down. And then soon you'll become the people that will inspire others, and people will come to you for the answers.
Beautiful. Amazing. Mir, we could talk for months, and I'm sure you're going to come back again, because you have so much wisdom, and it's so calming to listen to you. And I'm, certain that people out there will find so much serenity in what you say, because it is the eternal truth that resides within all of us that, in a way, you're reminding us of.
Yes, and we all know the answers. Sometimes we just need a reminder, don't we?
Yeah,
it's hard, we know the answers, we know what we should do, but we get caught up in life. We get caught up in the arguments with family. We get caught up with, work. We get caught up with travel and everything else. And it's fine. Sometimes we just need to sit and breathe and remember.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We just need to remember who we are, I think, and that's the start. That's the beginning of where we unlock the door to every other destination within us.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today. It's always an honor and a pleasure to listen to your wisdom, as always. And, please, as I said, come again, because we need, we could have a whole section of you giving advice to people. Or you might even start your own podcast, Mir.
Oh, yeah, no, I think I'll come on here instead.
You're always welcome. The door's always, open for you. But, I asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again, because I always ask my guests this. But in a nutshell, as much as one can, sort of in a few lines, what is something that's helped you in life and that people need to be reminded of, to keep going, to not give up hope?
I think for me is pain and discomfort. I've experienced an awful lot of it, and I think I got caught up in it all for a very long time. And I think years down the line, I learned that I could use it as either fuel to power my means of moving forward and clearing myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
But I also learned to let go of it as well. So for me, it forked into two roads. I could feel and be the pain, but I learned to let go of it, and in that way dissolve it. But I also learned a different way, which is basically to use it as fuel to move me forwards out of the pain and out of discomfort. And I hope, people do experience pain and discomfort, and that's the nature of being human and existing. But I hope people kind of learn that they can do either one of those two or other things with it. So hopefully people aren't living in pain and discomfort for too long, but if they are, that they can use it to get themselves out of it, or use it for future use. Or if they're really gentle, kind of compassionate, they can dissolve it and let it go by the breath, by prayer, by movement, physical movement, and by being in nature.
Yes, our greatest teacher.
Yes, definitely. If we're lucky enough to feel and hear things. I think one of the things, again, my main medical teacher, he said, and I forgot the numbers, but he said one of the things that we don't know is just how fast the Earth is moving. We're sat lying on a planet that is moving through space at tens of thousands of miles an hour. It is moving enormously through space, and we circulate the sun and all this kind of stuff, but we can't even hear it. We can't feel it. If you stand there, we can't feel how fast we're moving. through space and through the universe, it's just too big. So we have to either learn basically to tune into it, or we learn from smaller lessons from the places that we can learn first before we move on to bigger things. So start small, start with your breath, start with yourself, and then the bigger lessons of the universe come to us when we're ready.
Beautiful advice, really. And what a way to think, that here we are literally in this galaxy upon galaxies. How do we know in reality what we are doing? Because we could be existing on so many different levels. And here we are doing the, dance of life through the whole hemispheres, and we're not even aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing time.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Mir. Now, tell me, if people would like to get in contact with you, how can they do that? What's the best way?
The best way would probably be through the website. They can email me.
What's the address of the website?
The websites, I've got two for the Chinese medicine. It's orientaltreatment.com. Or I think they can contact me through the martial arts website, which is warriorhealers.co.uk. And both should have contact pages where they can just email me. It's just, I may or may not be able to help, but may or may not be able to point them in a direction. But everyone's welcome to contact me, and if I can help, I will. And if I can't, maybe by crossing me off their list and on their search, they can go and find someone who can. Yeah,
and it doesn't matter how short the encounter is; it's all a stepping stone into wherever the journey leads after that.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like your teacher who told you maybe you should change company. So,
yeah. Yes. I do think of her, I have to say, often in life. And it's, we were just maybe 2 years she was my teacher, but her lessons still resonate even to this day.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
beautiful. She did that. Yeah. Thank you, Mir, and please come again. And I wish you a wonderful day ahead. I hope you're not going to be too busy.
Yes, yeah. We shall see how it goes.
Unless, of course, that's what you want. And then I hope it's very busy. But still enough time for a cup of green tea, I hope.
Yes. Oh, well, there's always time for a cup of green tea. One of the whole things about is what's the best tea, and what's the best way to drink tea, and how should you drink tea, because tea is a whole practice in itself. It's a whole dance practice.
It's a whole sort of it's a
big thing, is tea. But one of the secrets to tea is basically it's the company you keep. That's the best tea. Who you drink with. So it's just there's always a cup of green tea, and if it's with myself and I'm not happy with myself, then that's not bad company for the day either.
Absolutely. And I really like the green tea, the one that has the rice.
Yes,
I love that tea.
Yeah, it's called Genmai cha. Genmai cha is a really nice Japanese tea, and I think they have it in South Korea or Korea in general. But it's toasted rice with sencha green.
Yes, it's wonderful tea. Wonderful tea.
Well,
yes, absolutely. Thank you again, and I shall see you soon, I hope. And you can, pass on your pearls and your wisdom and all the knowledge that you have. And I'm sure the listeners out there are going to be delighted, because today's episode really has touched upon so many profound and deep things that I think reside within all of us.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mir. Take care.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Mir Abbas Ali. Always fascinating to listen to him. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I send you lots of love and lots of light and many, many wonderful wishes. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.